you move, you need a reliable company led by passionate folks, eager to assist its customers during a transitional process that needs to be smooth. Call Essential Moving Experts at 844-368-5750 for all your local and long-distance moving needs. You can rely on Essential Moving Experts. Mention the Big O Show and get $150 off. Family owned and operated, they offer free 30-day storage, full-service moving, fully licensed, bonded, and insured. Moving was never so easy. EssentialMovingExperts.com.
There's no need to drive around South Florida wasting valuable time looking for a new or certified pre-owned Acura. Go to the #1 volume sales dealership in the Southeast United States. Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. Purchase with pace and space in a dealership tailored to your needs. From home buying to providing that personal touch. Contact the 2020 Satisfaction Award winner Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. 888-776-5123. That's 888-776-5123. Or visit them at 15601 Pines Boulevard in Pembroke Pines. If you're a Miami sports fan, then there's only one store to go to, and that's Caneswear at Miami Fanwear in Davie. They're your one-stop shop for all your inner Miami CF, Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, and Marlins merchandise. They have hats, t-shirts, game day jerseys, and so much more. Located at 2511 South University Drive in Davie, and open 24/7 online at caneswear.com or innermiamiwear.com. Call them at 954-835-5597. Caneswear, the spot where inner Miami and all Miami sports fans shop.
The viewpoint, statements, or beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of FantasyAccess.com, Media Group Inc., ownership, management, sponsors, or website.
As we talk about building a championship program, as we talk about taking things and elevating the standard to elite levels, it all starts with work. And as I look at these young men and I look at some of the other guys that I played with or coached with, I remember things like when they had to get an IV for going way too hard during two-a-days, when you had to visit them at the hospital due to an unforeseen injury, when you saw the trials, all the adversity they had to overcome to elevate the standard here at the University of Miami, you realize more than ever that it's about the work. It's about the time invested. Because without that, it's not real. And it's time to go to work.
The warning flag is up. It's time to get ready for Miami Hurricanes football. Welcome to the Miami Hurricanes Pregame Show on the SportsTalk305 Network. The show is mastered by Sean Stanley and Chad Shobe. Here's your hosts, Orlando Alzugaray and Mike McCoy.
I am feeling it. Yeah, baby. Hell of an open, Sean. Nice job by you as we get ready for the U at Texas A&M. Good evening, Mike McCoy. This is the game we've been waiting for. There's been 2 preseason games. They've come and gone. The real test starts tonight.
This is it. 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, Kyle Field, light under the lights. Game day wasn't there, but did you really host game day if the crew from game day didn't call your game? Crazy finish there by App State either at the end of the game there. But this is it, man. First non-conference opponent. First SEC non-conference opponent since what? Well, last year even. They opened it up, and Miami's 0-7 in games like this. So put up or shut up, man.
Yeah. Well, listen, I I'm not really, and I'm glad you kind of started off that way, because there are a couple themes that are
Mhm.
developing and narratives that are developing that I'm really not enjoying. And I kind of tried to explain it to people last week in the middle of the game last week. Mario inherited a crap storm. He did not inherit, he's not Dennis Erickson taking over from Jimmy Johnson with a loaded team, and he's not Larry Coker taking over from Butch Davis, who was on one of the greatest roles ever for recruiting and left him just an absolute treasure trove of talent. That does not exist on this program right now. That's why Mario had to go out and get so many transfers, because when he got here, he saw how a void there is of talent and elite talent. And people have a misconception that this offseason, with a couple of commits, couple of transfers, and kids that are coming next year, not
Right.
now, he thinks that a lot of people are thinking that they're going to turn things around right now and challenge Alabama and challenge even Clemson for the ACC title. And really, when you think about it, they're still not ready for a game like this. And last week, you saw it with the offensive line not being good enough to run the ball when they needed to. They're not good enough when it comes to that secondary at times. That secondary is just absolutely horrible. They've got a lot of things to clean up. They don't have wide receivers. We have no idea who the hell is going to step up today when Xavier Restrepo is the best receiver you have. And on a normal wide receiving core, he's maybe a third or a fourth wide receiver. On a normal one, when he's playing with Andre Johnson and Santana Moss, he has nowhere to be on the field with those guys. He has to be the third or fourth guy. There are things that we have to come to a realization. And this is one of them. I'll talk about the other one down the line, but this is one of them that we have way too many unrealistic people. And I'll tell you, and I'll start the show with this statement right here. If Mario Cristobal wins tonight's game, it's probably the best coaching job he's ever done. Even Oregon beating Ohio State last year, or anything he accomplished at FIU. His team is not ready for these kind of moments. His players aren't ready for this kind of moment. There's a lot of talk, but there isn't a lot of proof there. And for us to expect them to rise from the ashes and become that team without these tests in the first place, it's unrealistic.
Well, I mean, Manny didn't leave the cupboard completely bare for Cristobal when Cristobal took over, 9 months ago in December. You got a top quarterback in the country. Okay. You have, when healthy, two of them went down, but when healthy, a stable of running backs that is probably the top in the ACC. Okay. A lot of, and I'll back this up what you said, a lot of unproven talent at wide receiver. And like you said, if X is the best one that you have, then you kind of talk about basketball in the game of basketball. Like,
It's a bad receiving core. If
yeah,
Restrepo is your
not,
best receiver, it's a terrible wide receiving core. Let's just be honest. We're
and I
used to
mean that,
Michael Irving and
right.
Andre Johnson here, and the Blades and the Perrimans of the world and the Santana Mosses. We're used to receivers that are at a whole different level than what we're watching right now. There's no Randall Hill going on right now with his six-shooter. It just there isn't anybody
No.
out there like that, and that's the problem. That's a big problem.
And then, like Lance Leggett was saying earlier this week on the show on Tuesday night,
There ain't
he
no
was
Lance
saying
Leggett on this show. I mean, on
there's
this
no
team.
Lance Leggett on the show or on the team, but he
On
was
the
saying
team.
that's why he expects it to be a collective effort until that one person takes the bull by the horns, and this is the opportunity to do it. Because until you see them do it, you're not going to be able to think that they can. So
Yeah.
it's games like this where everybody's looking like, look, there's really no other big time games in 2 hours, all right, an hour and 53 minutes from now, but who's counting? But this is, if you're going to make your mark, this is where you do it. We already know what TVD can do. That defense has to show up as well. We'll see what happens with that. And Miami can benefit by the addition of a few injuries that haven't been playing the first two games. So we'll see how that rolls, how that happens.
Yeah. Maybe as Leon Fresco put, maybe they could get a Ronde Getz in the second to transfer.
Man, listen, that
John
was a
Ruiz
funny
has
game
got a
there.
jet full of Canes fans that he's flown over there and bussing over there. I see all the videos and all that.
Kept
That's
his word.
there you go. There you go, Ruiz. Transfer portal. Let's go. That kid is just like his dad, bro. That was a fun game. 42 points in the fourth
Yeah,
quarter.
yeah, yeah,
Holy
yeah,
crap. Wow. That was
yeah.
just like you guys can you keep somebody in front of you? I mean, it was
Apparently
just
not, right?
bomb
Apparently
after
not.
bomb after bomb after bomb. That was a fun game. I don't know what game today. I can't see all of them, but I don't know if there's a game that's going to be more entertaining than Syracuse and Purdue today. I mean,
Well, that was a lot of points in the fourth quarter in that game. But did you see how the App State game
yeah,
just ended?
yeah, yeah,
That
yeah,
was
yeah,
incredible. I was
yeah.
watching it with my 5-year-old son, and he's like, "Daddy, the game's over." I said, "You never know, just watch." And he literally, oh my! It was the first time him watching something like that. So
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just this is just I just want, and I know, man, it's 20 years of just terrible football, mediocre play, mediocre coaches, and it's hard. I doing radio in this, and for South Florida fans, not just locally, but all over the world.
mhm.
I know it's hard to tell a Canes fan and a Dolphins fan, be patient. But I have to be honest with you. You have to be patient. You have to give this team some time. You have to give Mario. Dude, you're already booing Mario into 6 quarters into his career. I mean, that's the boos were already coming down, and that's because you're expecting. Look at there's very few penalties. There's there's not a lot of buffoonery going on. There's not like a lot of stupid stuff that they're burning themselves. All that other stuff that we used to see under Manny, the discipline part, they're becoming more of a disciplined team.
Mhm.
And it shows you that even the struggles from last week, even as a disciplined team, it shows you how far they are from actually being that team because, okay, you're disciplined. That's great. That gives you a chance. But if you're going to compete with the big boys, you have to have the talent in order to get there. And Andre Johnson just doesn't grow from a tree, dude.
Well,
He's not popping out of the locker room right now for you and going to start running routes. Hell, I mean, Charleston Rambo from last year. There's nobody even like him on this team right now. And that's kind of, I was talking about this earlier in the week. Being an old man, you've seen a lot. And I remember Craig Erickson needed somebody to step up in a game where there weren't a lot of receivers with a lot of names. And some kid by the name of Dale Dawkins showed out and showed up in a big moment and kind of made a name for himself. George Myra Jr. gets suspended before a bowl game and all
Tiger.
hell breaks loose. And Bernard Tiger Clark comes in and he was a nobody. He just had a really cool name, Bernard Tiger Clark. That's all he had, like a really cool name, but he had nothing on his resume until that night. And that's one of those legendary nights that will go down for the history of time and for his lifetime too, because you stepped up.
Right.
So we have had those moments in the past where the guy comes out of nowhere and finally, okay, yeah, we had him on the roster. We didn't know who he was, but there he is. There's the guy. And so the question is, today, is it going to be Brashard Smith? Is it going to be Michael Redding Jr.? Is it going to be Keyshawn Smith? Is it going to be Romello Brinson? 4 guys that have a combined 16 catches so far this season. That's not a lot to depend on right now. There's not a lot of track record there. There's not a lot of explosive numbers there. Keyshawn Smith and Michael Redding have nice averages of 15 and 16 yards, per catch, but there's not a lot of history there with these guys. So that's the question. What's going to happen here? And has Josh Gaddis been kind of saving stuff? That's what some people think, that you're saving stuff. And maybe you are. We're going to find out tonight. But listen, tonight is the night. If you've been saving it, well, then we need to see what receivers are going to step up. And if you're not saving it and you've been trying and going all out, well, then one of these aforementioned dudes must say, I'm the guy tonight and I'm going to take over. And I think that's really, really important tonight, because if not, it's going to be that much harder, almost impossible to win this game.
No, it'll be impossible. But going back to your point about when you were talking about discipline, and that's a good thing, and then they're better, but even with the discipline, it shows how far back they are. I forgot where I read it, or I don't know if it was a tweet or from somebody that reported it, but Tyler Van Dyke and a lot of the guys, when they got back, to campus last week, they were working on stuff. They took it upon themselves because they knew they weren't playing at the level that everyone expects, themselves included, coaches, other staff members, so on and so forth. So they did that. And the other thing was this. I think we talked about this post game last week, and I was the first one saying, I was like, I would love to have been the fly on the wall in the locker room at halftime, because I bet you it was laced with expletives, and it wasn't. Apparently, I forgot who reported it or where I tweeted it. Mario didn't even have to scream at them or yell at them or raise his voice like that. Why? Because they knew what they needed to do. They knew where they were lacking. They knew what they needed to do to improve, how to communicate, get better. And then in the second half, if that is 100% true, if they took it upon themselves and they corrected what they need to correct, and they just had a bad, funky first half for whatever reason, that's encouraging, because you got to start somewhere. There's building blocks. The best teams have situations like that. Apparently, James Williams got in Corey Flagg's ass at some point throughout the game and was, tugging on his face mask. And that's what they need. They need that accountability. Hey, man, you're not pulling your weight. Get your ass back in coverage. Let's do this. Like, we're better than this. We're still supposed to be beating these guys by 50 points. So, we're going to talk about the suspensions later on. There's some suspensions that have been announced for A&M. Big-time names, starters. And that's got to only – listen, I'm taking any type of advantage Miami can take today in this game. And if that's going to help, I don't care if that diminishes the win some way, somehow, or whatever the case. It's a win on the road. And there's just so much to see. Yeah, there's so many 50-50 stories.
Main playmakers on offense aren't missing. And that's –
the running back is playing. That receiver's playing. That receiver's out.
Yeah. No, Anais Smith?
Well, it was hold on, I'll tell you right now.
Marshall and Evan Stewart is out.
It was Stewart, right? That's the receiver. That's one of the receivers that was.
Yeah, but he's not the guy. The guy is Anais.
Anais
is the guy. He's the main receiver of theirs. He's the 5'10". He's got 10 catches, 185 yards. He's got a couple touchdowns. He's got a big play of 63 yards. He's a big play wide receiver. And then Devin Ashaney is another guy, kid out of Texas, and he's not only a terrific little running back, but he can also catch the ball.
Mm-hmm.
He's also a fantastic kickoff returner too. He's got 3 kickoffs for 144 yards and a touchdown. Okay, so this is a kid that they've got to watch out on special teams. They're going, especially in the kick return area. They're going to have to be very careful with Devin Ashaney, because he is a playmaker. And then Smith, he's the burner. He's the guy that you've got to somehow stay with. He's the speed guy, and he's the guy that they're going to end up counting on. And now I would imagine that Max Johnson is the guy starting now, right? Instead of Haynes King.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Max supposedly is a little bit more mobile or something. I don't know. This is all unproven, unknown territory right now. So I have no idea. Nobody knows what the hell they're facing with that kid.
That's what I was in a Twitter space last night, the very first Twitter space that I was in that actually was worth a while being in. And so I was saying there's more questions than answers going into this game for both teams. All right, maybe more so for Miami, but with Max Johnson, it's actually that he's not. It's not that the dude can't move, because he can move with his legs, but he's not the athlete at the quarterback position that Haynes King is. I think that Jimbo decided to make the switch because he knows that we got to get our playmakers the ball in space, and Max Johnson is the better decision maker and passer of the two to get it done. Yeah, he's a better passer. But where the problem may come in is that since he isn't as mobile as King, and that O-line does have questions, what's going to happen, with the pass protection and all of that stuff, we'll see. But I think that's why he made the switch. Listen, man, there's just, again, more questions than answers. Are Miami's receivers going to step up? What's going to happen with Miami's pass rush that hasn't been dominant? What's going to happen with A&M's O-line that has questions? What do you expect from Mass Johnson? He's not going to be in the middle. He either going to be really, really good or really, really bad. All right. I think that from what I've seen so far from both offenses, I'm not expecting a high-scoring game, but you never know. You never know how, what Miami's defense is going to look like on third downs. Are they going to get off the field on third downs when they're supposed to? So, like I said, too many questions, not enough answers.
All right, Mike McCoy, Big O with you. We'll take you till 9 o'clock. We'll take you right up to kickoff. Sean Stanley, Chad Shob are driving the program as always. We got the scores for you underneath. You got all the ACC scores, so you know what's going on throughout the conference. Some of the games that are going on in the evening, Chad will keep you updated with those scores. Also, the spread tonight, it is Texas A&M favored by 6.5. The over and under is 45.5. Miami is plus 195 on the money line, and Texas A&M is minus 230. And by the way, if you're thinking about some sports investment today or tomorrow or throughout the week, think about BetUS, folks, because when it comes to BetUS, it's their 28th year right now, folks. BetUS offers the industry's biggest sign-up bonus, up to 200%, and they've got all your favorite leagues, including the NFL, NBA, MLB. BetUS, by the way, offers everything like live betting, MMA, golf, horses, esports, and all kinds of crazy bets. BetUS also has hundreds of new casino games, including the coolest European slots with live dealers that are waiting for you at the tables. BetUS is a sports book with integrity and longevity, and you know that you're going to get paid. Okay, there's a whole bunch of those shady sites overseas, and you have no idea if you're getting your money. 28 years in, I think you know where BetUS is. They're well established. Go to betus.com, join right now, and get 200% in bonuses with the promo code BIG OW. Nobody in the industry gives you better discounts than BetUS. Again, join now and mention Big O, and you can get up to 200% in bonuses on your first deposit. Nobody beats that. Head to betus.com and join today. That's BetUS, where the games begin. All right, Jeff Tarpley is going to join Mike and myself here at the bottom of the hour here at 7:30. We're going to talk to the Texas A&M writer from 247 Sports. So we'll get his thoughts on what he thinks is going to happen in this matchup. I'll tell you what I have seen, Mike, and I got to commend the fans, man. The fans that go on the road, man, to go to that place, 102 crazy thousand people there. You got the military folks, you got all those guys out there, and I'm sure it's not easy to get a ticket. I'm sure you got to pay a pretty penny to get a ticket and go in there. But man, there is a boatload of fans that have hit the road and are going to be there at that game tonight. That's actually going to be pretty cool to see some of the UM fans. I'm not saying that they're going to stand out because obviously it's going to be dominated by A&M fans, but quite a few fans are going, man.
I saw some pictures of flights leaving the area, and the flights were full of orange and green, so that was encouraging to see. I had a moment to myself that I kicked like, damn it, because after that Bama game last year, I said, forget it. A&M's out of the question, but I found myself, the closer you get to kickoff, I was like, damn, I wish I was there. But yeah, you're right, man. And shout out to you said, shout out to fans making the trip. Shout out to 50,000 fans that show up to this midnight yell that A&M has every night before a game.
It's fire thing. Yeah.
Well, that's something else. They have they have that bonfire, right? And then they have at Kyle Field the midnight yell. Where all they do is they get together, they practice their chants for the game day and the day of the game, and it's just insane, man. And they have from what I understand, it's nothing but students that's in there. Obviously, there could be more, but 50,000 people for yelling at midnight to practice what you're going to chant the next day. That's pretty cool. That's got to be an awesome tradition. Now, the jokes that they tell are terrible.
Another excuse to get liquored up and go sing. That's all it is. Come on. Just kidding. Who? It's a bunch of people are saying, yeah, let's go sing and practice our chants. Bull crap. They're there to get liquored up. That's what they're doing, bro.
That's what they're doing. No, I listen.
They're adding a little energy drink, adding a little vodka, and that's it. That's what they're doing. I know what I see right through that. I know exactly what's going on there.
But let me tell you,
it's not South Florida, bro. It's College Station. You got to invent some stuff to do.
Yeah, you have to. You're right. And let me tell you, the jokes that they tell at that midnight I was like, oh, man, they were cringeworthy, but it was funny. I have to admit, I tuned in. They had a stream going on YouTube, and I was like, all right. I'm sorry?
Yeah. It's a social event for them.
No, 100% it is. 100% it is.
They don't have the Grove, bro. They don't have Key Biscayne. They don't have South Beach. They don't have Worth Avenue. They don't have Las Olas,
So let's go scream at 12 o'clock.
Keys, you know what I'm saying? They don't have these treasures that we have here. So you got to come up with, hey, let's go, gather around the stadium, get liquored up and sing. That's it. Jesus. You know what it is? It's a big ass karaoke bar. That's all it is, bro. It's a big ass karaoke bar for the Aggies.
Oh my God, man. I just couldn't believe it for an hour of yelling. Oh.
Yeah. Rob Duke says today has been the longest day ever. You know why, Rob, today's so damn long? Because we've been waiting for this for months.
Yeah, man.
We don't give a shit about the first two games. They don't get any of us excited. You know what I'm saying? These were preseason games that you had to kind of get through, and are they that bad, or were they holding back or whatever? That's exactly what Mike was saying. There's so much unknown still for the Canes. We don't know what the hell we're seeing from Texas A&M. It's just, and that's why. And this is the moment we've kind of been waiting for, because this is the moment that you measure, okay, where is this program at, and how good of a coaching job did Mario do tonight? Because I think that's kind of the way I'm going to measure it. If you're making mistakes and burning yourself, then I'm disappointed in Mario and his staff. But if you go there and you play a really good game and you play a tough game and you make few mistakes, but they're a little better and you lose, it sucks, but I can live with that, and I can deal with that, because I understand that Jimbo Fisher is 5 years ahead of you in building this program. 5 years. So he's already turned over a class.
Yep.
Mario hasn't even started, bro. This is his first class. And it's kind of half-assed, the first class, as you all know, when a coach takes over. Next year will be the real, full class. It's his second, but really, that's probably his first class that he really gets to put his real imprint on it. This one was more desperation, fill out what you can, get what you can, all that, because you're such an unknown, you're not really going to get the real commits. And that's the other thing about tonight. I'm measuring, what Mario does. You're measuring what Mario does, but the recruits are measuring what Mario does. The ones that are committed for 2023, the ones that are thinking about it for 2024, they need to see the kind of performance that makes them prideful that they would like to be a Cane. And so there's a lot, Rob Dukes, to give you a long-ass answer. There's a lot riding on this, because all of this is built up. It's built up for you as fans. It's built up for the media. It's built up for the players. It's built up for the recruits. It's built up for the coaches. This game has so much, because it's the first real test for Mario Cristobal. And that's why we've all been waiting for this. And then they have to torture us by making it a 9 o'clock start. What the hell is that, bro? Jesus Christ.
And that's part of the reason, a couple things, and then I want to end in asking you a question, That's part of the reason why I've been steadily not moving from the point that this is not going to be the same A&M team that the nation saw last week, because it's a 9 o'clock game, because it's Miami, because it's 2-0, all of that stuff. And Jimbo trying to erase the stench from last weekend. But other than that, recruiting, when Mario got here, he was hired a few weeks before, signing day and everything like that. Ended up with, I want to say, the 13th class. Okay. When he took over, that class was ranked like in the 30s or 50s. And then he picks up Cyrus Moss from California, picks up Nigel Kelly, which was not coming here. Okay. So it was a nice, he closed well. But I want to ask you this, this, with all the questions that are going into this game for Miami and A&M, probably more so Miami, is this game more on the coaches or the players?
Coaches, because the players are not that good, and the players are very green. So that's why I want to see how prepared they are, how disciplined they are, who steps up, who can make plays, who can play within the system, play with discipline, and play with effort all the way throughout, whether you're winning or you're losing. I want to see the character of the players. That's kind of what I'm testing the coaches for in this game. All right, let's do this. Jeff Tarpley, 247 Sports, is going to join us, Texas A&M beat writer. We've got some suspensions. We're going to ask him what kind of impact those suspensions are going to make on the team. What kind of impact will the new quarterback make? Does he even know what the hell this Texas A&M team is? Well, Jeff Tarpley's the beat writer. We'll ask him, right? He's got to have all the answers, right? Apparently, Jeff Tarpley knows more than Jimbo Fisher. That's the rumor. We find out about that in 2 minutes, right here on the Miami Hurricanes pregame show on the Sports Talk 305 Network.
If you're a Miami sports fan, then there's only one store to go to, and that's Caneswear at Miami Fanwear in Davie. They're your one-stop shop for all your inner Miami CF, Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, and Marlins merchandise. They have hats, t-shirts, game day jerseys, and so much more. Located at 2511 South University Drive in Davie, and open 24/7 online at caneswear.com or innermiamiwear.com. Call them at 954-835-5597. Caneswear, the spot where inner Miami and all Miami sports fans shop.
When you move, you need a reliable company led by passionate folks, eager to assist its customers during a transitional process that needs to be smooth. Call Essential Moving Experts at 844-368-5750 for all your local and long-distance moving needs. You can rely on Essential Moving Experts. Mention the Big O Show and get $150 off. Family owned and operated, they offer free 30-day storage, full-service moving, fully licensed, bonded, and insured. Moving was never so easy. EssentialMovingExperts.com.
Hey guys, this is Hayden Hurst, NFL tight end. I'm partnering today with Red Recover. We're going to run you guys through some drills. I started using Red Recover last year, my 4th year in the NFL. It just helps me on Mondays after games, get my recovery process started, get back into the fold of the week, and get ready for the following Sunday. And if you want to recover like me, use Red Recover.
We are back. Hurricanes pregame show. We are awaiting Jeff Tarpley from 247 Sports to join us. Hopefully he's got the link ready to go, and we'll get him on in a couple of minutes. Remember, if you want to get in on the Welt and Rayom text line, that's 855-912-1056. That's 855-912-1056. If you want to get in on the Welt and Rayom text line, we've got the YouTube chat board there. We got the questions. If you want to send them in, I see Brian Walters is in there. He saw it at 5 points to spread. I still see it at 6.5, dude. I haven't seen anything really change. Jonathan Dill is in. Bromar, Miami Soccer, Juan Castillo, Leon Fresco, 6193. So we see that there's activity already on the chat board. Always appreciate all of you out there. Of course, you can reach out to us also on the Welton Realm text line. We can answer your questions there. You can reach out to us also on Twitter, too. You see Mike McCoy's Twitter handle there, UM_radio_MIC. And, of course, mine is at Big O Show. That's the different ways you can interact with us. You can interact with us during the games, too, by the way. So while the game is going on, you got a question, you got a complaint, which I'm sure we'll have plenty of complaints, right? That's what we do for a living. You can send them into Mike and you can send them into myself throughout the game. Sean and Chad, of course, are driving the program. We await Jeff Tarpley joining us here on the program. Now, I do need to see the cornerback step up. I need to see DJ Ivy. I don't even know if he should start, to be quite honest with you. And by the way, when it comes to DJ Ivy, one thing.
We're talking about practice. Not a game. We're talking about practice.
I don't want to, there are things that frost my ass in South Florida sports. One of them is when they tell me, Mickey Harrison is worried about punitive tax because they got to pay a luxury tax. And I'm like, you're a billionaire. I know cry for you, billionaire. Okay. I cry for Mike. I cry for Sean. I cry for Chad. I cry for myself. We're the working stiffs like the rest of you out there. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to hear about practice anymore. I want to see you play in the game and step up. We'll get back to that now, but let's talk a little bit about this matchup with Jeff Tarpley, who does an excellent job for 247 Sports covering Texas A&M. There he is. I guess we get no video of
if you don't mind.
Okay, no, that's fine. You know what? I know what you're doing, Jeff. I get it. You're too good looking for the rest of us. So I get it. You're too sexy for the rest. You don't want to really show us up. So I get it. Thank you.
I have a face for the internet and a voice for something else. So hopefully my East Texas accent doesn't interfere with everything tonight.
Again, your voice sounds better than ours. You look better than us. So I'm glad that you're not really just showing us out completely. So you're doing us a favor. And I see that and I appreciate that. Okay. So I see it right through that gray curtain that you have put between us. All right. So talk to us about going from Haynes King to Max Johnson. What do you know? Because that's kind of, the unfair part about all of this. We're still trying to figure out who the hell the University of Miami football team is. And something tells me that Mr. Jeff Tarpley's kind of doing the same thing with Texas A&M.
Well, Texas A&M is a relatively young team, believe it or not. They've got nearly 60 kids right now who are classified as freshmen or redshirt freshmen, a ton of them. And a lot of them are playing important roles on this squad. I think that's one of the things that Max Johnson should be able to help the Aggies with. You look at the offense, first of all, outside the quarterback spot, you've got three or four guys from all five offensive line spots and tight end who were making their first starts this season when the year began, or they're true freshmen. You've got a true freshman wideout in Evan Stewart. And so when you've got a group that doesn't have a lot of seasoning and things start to go south, then who picks up the pieces? Well, Jimbo Fisher likes to say, hey, look, your quarterback cleans up messes. Well, if your quarterback has just 2 college starts going into the season and he only lasted like barely a cup of coffee in one of them, he's not able to clean up those messes. So enter Max Johnson, who is a guy with 14 starts as a D1 quarterback, a lot of them in the SEC. He's thrown for 300 yards multiple times. He's gone to Florida in one. He's played A&M and beat them on a last-second score. Most of all, he's going to be able to make the types of throws that Haynes King couldn't necessarily make. King doesn't have a great arm, and that kind of showed when he had to get the ball in the intermediate zones and then down the field. He just couldn't push it quickly enough to get it there on time. He kind of floated it out there on the sidelines. He really tried to throw ropes down the middle instead of putting some air under the football. He threw 2 picks against Sam Houston in the opener. That was an issue he's always had, is throwing picks. And then last week, he hit 65% of his passes, but he just was making throws where people couldn't do anything after the catch, or he missed a couple of crucial throws where if he just completes the pass, A&M gets a first down or maybe gets a big play. So that's what A&M's looking for. It's hopefully he can, for A&M fans, he can settle down everybody else on that side of the ball, but also he can just make the types of simple throws that Haynes King couldn't. And so A&M can generate some chunk plays, but most of all, just move the chains.
100%. Thanks for joining us, Jeff. Wanted to ask you, because a big story going into the game was about O-lines for both teams. But since you're joining us, talking about A&M, I needed to ask you about Bryce Foster, and his availability for this game. How much of an impact do you expect for him to make if he's starting? I'm not sure if he's starting. Hopefully you can help us with that. And if so, how effective you think he'll be? Because if I'm not mistaken, he was suffering from mono, which can kind of hinder your conditioning, if I'm not mistaken. I know that the tonight kick's not going to be particularly humid, perfect playing weather, if I'm not mistaken. But his addition, how much you expect the O-line to gel or not with him playing?
Well, I think first of all, you got to take in consideration he's not going to be in game shape, so to speak. I wouldn't expect him to play 60 minutes. He's probably lost some weight. So he's not going to be the same player that A&M fans were used to seeing last season when he was a freshman All-American. We're not sure yet if he's starting, how much he's going to be playing, simply because A&M probably doesn't know itself how much they can push him. He just came back to practice this week. So in terms of all that, I think I would look for Matthew Wyckoff, who's been starting there, to continue to play a big role. Wyckoff's actually the highest rated A&M starting offensive lineman for Pro Football Focus during the first 2 weeks of the season. He kind of got off to a shaky start a little bit against Sam Houston, but otherwise he's been pretty functional. It's actually been some of the people around him, and especially the experienced people, have kind of struggled at times. So I still think he's going to play a bigger role than Foster. It would be a little bit of a surprise if he doesn't. But A&M, regardless of whether Foster plays or not, A&M's got to get better play out of the rest of that offensive line if they're going to win this football game tonight.
Jeff Tarpley, 247 Sports beat writer for Texas A&M, joining us here on our Miami Hurricanes pregame show on the Sports Talk 305 Network. All right, Jeff, there was reported some suspensions. Evan Stewart, Chris Marshall, Denver Harris, Smoke Bowie. Talk to us. What are the big losses there for Texas A&M, and how does it affect them going into tonight's game?
I think the biggest one is Stewart. He's had 10 catches so far this season. He's a former 5-star. He's extremely dangerous after the catch. He was an early enrollee at A&M, and he came in and got into the first unit like in the first practice of spring football. So he's just, compared to all the guys that we've seen come through College Station that played receiver, he's just really unique. I mean, he's a really fluid kid. He's very, very fast. He's still, trying to figure out the offense, trying to figure out, what to do, what not to do. They put him at the X. They try to get him the ball on a lot of crossing routes for him to outrun defenders to the boundary or maybe shake people off and turn it upfield. He hasn't been a big play guy so far. They've tried to get the ball to him down the field. It's just, again, with the quarterback play, it just hadn't worked out like they hoped it would. But he may miss just a half. We do know that what happened with him he wasn't involved with the other three players, and so he may only miss a half and then be back for the second half. But he's by far A&M's best receiver, and they really need him if they're going to get some chunk plays going. Which isn't this? If you've watched A&M at all the last few years, that's been an issue with A&M. Marshall,
I thought Smith was their best receiver.
Smith he's a guy who's been around for a while. He knows the offense. He sets a tone. He's kind of a linchpin. But if you sit there and watch him in practice, I mean, Stewart's just different. I mean, he's just so fluid. He can accelerate, and he's the guy that can take a 5-yard throw and turn it into a 50-yard play more so than anybody else on that roster. The difference is
Smith has the plays, has the big plays and the touchdowns.
Well, because if you noticed on the two long plays he has against Sam Houston, one, Smith ran a seam route. Stewart was running also down the field, and Sam Houston was paying attention to Stewart, and so the safety just kind of let Smith just run right past him. And the other long play, A&M ran a combination post wheel route. Stewart goes inside on the post. Everybody goes with him. And Smith's just kind of running all by himself because everybody else is watching Evan Stewart. Stewart's a guy that you just got, if you just watch him at all in any kind of film, he's a guy that you really have to pay attention to. And so I think that from that standpoint, yes, Smith is a linchpin. He's someone that you need to have out there, but all these guys benefit from having Evan Stewart on the field because the defense is going to be paying attention to Evan Stewart.
Wow, so the Miami secondary got a break, because at least for a half, maybe, by what you're saying, because the Miami secondary, I got to tell you, Jeff, makes everybody look like a star. And meanwhile, I'm worried about Smith. I'm worried about Devin. Is it Achaney? Is that how it's pronounced?
Devin Achaney. Achane. And
Achane.
Yeah.
I'm a little worried about those guys. And then, Stewart's stats were okay, but, I look at Smith, and since I don't watch them all the time, I'm thinking Smith is the guy you got to be worried about. So it looks like the Canes are going to get a break in that sense. So is there somebody else that you're expecting to step in instead of Stewart for the time being?
Well, I think A&M's just simply got to get better play out of the guys that are there. The receiver, A&M went out and recruited 2 5-stars and a 4-star because their receiver room just wasn't a dynamic group. And so those guys are going to have to be a little more dynamic tonight. They've got some guys that can get down the field and make plays down the field. They've just, they've got to be able to do that. I would look for, if you're looking for one of the veterans, Jalen Preston is a guy who's really, really good run after the catch. If A&M can get him the ball, maybe on some of those crossing or intermediate type routes, he can do some damage. Smith, of course, he can read coverages well enough that if you make a mistake in coverage, like Sam did in the first game, he can certainly make you pay for it. Devin Price is a pretty solid receiver. Moose Muhammad is a guy who really good hands, really good attention to detail, catching the football, running his routes. He's the son of a former NFL guy. He's someone that could make some big plays tonight. A&M's just going to have guys who haven't necessarily been explosive to get into situations, Max Johnson delivering them the ball, downfield where they can get to it in contested catch situations, or where they can do something with it after the catch. And again, that's why A&M went out and recruited 2 5-stars and a 4-star. Noah Thomas is the 4-star prospect who came in with Evan Stewart and Chris Marshall, who were the 5-stars. Thomas had a really good fall camp. He's really good at high pointing the ball, really good at looking it into his hands. He just hadn't gotten a lot of time. He probably will get more time tonight. He's someone that A&M needs to step it up as well.
I'm glad you gave us that, because you pretty much answered, the next question. I mean, these numbers should be very familiar to you, Jeff. 1, 7, 6, and 3. What are they? Texas A&M's last 4 recruiting classes and what their rankings were when they finished by signing day. So it's not like if the cupboard is bare behind the guys that are suspended. O just said, yeah, Miami's going to be getting a break. Yeah, but I mean, still, there's talent upon talent upon talent, stacked upon talent on this roster. And Miami knew this coming in. Even on Monday when Coach Cristobal was talking about, previewing this game on Monday, he mentioned A&M's big speed, and he meant that in a literal sense. I think he was referring to Texas A&M's tight ends, and we'll see how Miami combats that. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of piggyback on what you were saying, that yeah, there's a lot of suspensions to some big time guys that are big time contributors, but 1, 7, 6, and 3 are where A&M finished in the last 4 recruiting classes. So it's not like if Miami's getting a huge break.
Well, and here's something else too. This puts, maybe this puts more of a burden on A&M's defense. And while they could have played better against Appalachian State last weekend, they should be getting back McKinley Jackson, who's been injured. He's big nose tackle, returned to practice this week. In fact, A&M can stack a couple of defensive tackles up there, and him and Isaiah Rakes, who are in the 325-pound range. They're defensive ends. I mean, they go 4 deep, and the lightest defensive end they've got is Bill Diggs, who's a starter at 260. They've got guys at 280 pounds who can get in a 2-point stance, come off the edge, and play pretty well. Levius Overton, he's a guy who reclassified into the class of 2022 from 2023. He's run with the second unit defense end. He's really agile for someone who's listed at 280 pounds, and he actually uses his hands pretty well too. For a guy who's as young as he is. So the defense has to step it up, and this is they've recruited well enough on defense. They've recruited 22 defensive linemen in the last 4 classes, 17 of them 4 or 5 stars. And these guys are, most of them got talent. I mean, you look at them, it's just kind of like you just kind of sit there and go, wow. I've been following A&M for 50 years. Got 2 degrees there in the 80s when A&M was really, really good. And we just haven't seen guys like this on this campus. I mean, they're big and they're talented and they're just different.
So let me ask you, Jeff Tarpley, 247 Sports, Texas A&M beat writer. Jimbo Fisher, they're now paying him a little over $9 million a year. He just got a raise last year. Through his first 50 games, he's 35-15. Through Kevin Sumlin's first 50 games, he was 36-14. Is Texas A&M getting their return on their value? Because it doesn't seem like they're getting the return considering how much money they're paying him. And I get what Mike was talking about, the rankings, and I get you're talking about players now that you haven't seen on that campus in a while, but the results still haven't been there from what you're trying to get out of 5 years. So I'm just wondering, how is that being viewed since he has been extended and they're committed to him into the 30s?
I think one of the most interesting aspects of this week after the Appalachian State loss was the fan base took this loss on a visceral level. I don't think they woke up yesterday and said, "Oh my God, we've got a almost $100 million coach and we're not getting $100 million results." But I think the expectations, last year this was a top 5 team, ended up losing 4. It had an enormous number of injuries last year. It had counted up after the season, 15 players who started at least one game in their career, missed a total of over 100 player games. So it was just ridiculous. But this year, to start off like they have, again, they're in the top 10. Again, they get upset. Everybody's sitting there going, hey, it's not just the investment in Jimbo Fisher. It's the investment in the program. A&M's infrastructure. A&M is literally demolishing everything, their facilities south of campus, and building new ones. That's how much money they have on hand. And so they're sitting there going, hey, what kind of return are we getting, not just on Jimbo Fisher, but everybody else in the program?
Right.
In terms of Fisher himself, though, it's like, I think more than anything else, the Haynes King thing really impacted how people viewed him, because King was not very good in the spring game where everybody saw him. And then through fall camp, it was like, hey, you know what? He's progressed. He's doing really, really well. He's going to be the starter. Against Sam, he had his issues. And then last week, there were a lot of tweets out there with video attached about how he missed all these throws. And everybody's like, hey, you're a quarterback. It's not even about the money. It's like, hey, you're a quarterback guru. You've produced all these top NFL #1 draft picks. Are you starting the right guy? How did you not figure this out? And I think that's the biggest indictment on Fisher so far, is the fact that he couldn't even pick the right quarterback coming out of fall camp, and make a change 2 weeks in. And so everybody's really, if you got a coach and he's not getting it done on his side of the football, and Jimbo Fisher has his fingers in a lot of aspects of this program. He's not just the head coach. He's a de facto offense coordinator. He's the play caller. He's his own special teams coordinator. He's a recruiting coordinator. He's a personnel guy, because he signs off on everybody they offer. So when you are directly failing in something that you're supposed to be really, really good at, which is one of the main reasons that A&M hired him, that's what really resonated more than anything else. Yeah, it came across as, a loss to Appalachian State, but the fact of the matter is he's supposed to pick the right quarterback, and he didn't do it. And so now he's sitting there going, hey, look, his margin for error with everyone from here on out is definitely not what it was. I mean, this is a must win for him tonight and for the program, especially because this is a big recruiting weekend for A&M.
Yeah, and let me say, and I was going to ask you that as a follow-up, Jeff, because you lose to App State. And the only reason I'm picking Texas A&M tonight, it's because of what Mike said. Their recruiting classes, they're loaded. They're better than Miami. Jimbo Fisher is 5 years into building this program, whereas Mario Cristobal is 5 months into building his program. So I expect Jimbo Fisher to win, but I also expect it because Jimbo and his staff have got to know a back-to-back consecutive losses at home is unacceptable at that place. And you're going up again, this is the way we got to look at it. You're losing to two teams that are lesser teams than you also at home, because Miami is a lesser team than Texas A&M at this point. They should be, obviously, because they're not where Texas A&M is talent-wise. So for me, you're right. This has to be a must-win, because all hell will break loose at College Station if he loses tonight. I'm sure of it.
Well, here's something to keep in mind about A&M. And again, I started following this program, I guess I was probably about 10 years old. That was back in the 70s when A&M had a team that got all the way to number 2 in the country and ended up losing its last 2 games of the 75 season, cost itself would have won the national title, because the number 1 team that year was Ohio State, and they lost. That's how far back I go with this deal. But outside of the 80s or 90s, A&M hasn't had a history of institutional success, so to speak. They're not considered a blue blood because they hadn't won a national title in 81 years, and the top 5 finishes they've had in the last decade are the first 2 that they've had. If I remember correctly, even in 2012, that was the first one they had since the 50s. So A&M, and even when A&M was good in the 80s and 90s, their highest finish in the AP poll was 6, even when they were winning a lot of conference titles. So A&M just doesn't have that institutional memory of being successful or how to be successful. And one of the points I made on the boards this week was A&M hired Jimbo Fisher in order to save A&M from itself, because A&M just kept making decisions that weren't very good football decisions. And, but in that vein, they're telling Fisher, you're the expert, go out and do all these things for us. Well, what if Fisher's not making the best decisions himself? And especially because who's going to tell him he's wrong? I mean, A&M doesn't have that level. It's not like at LSU where you've won a national championship or some other place that's won a national championship recently or competed even for a national championship recently, where the people are sitting there going, hey, we know what success looks like and how to get there. A&M really doesn't have that. And as a result, if Jimbo Fisher wants to play Haynes King, who's going to tell him he's wrong? Because Jimbo Fisher and say, hey, I won a national championship. What have you done lately? A&M hadn't done anything lately.
It sounds like you're talking about, because this is the only thing that I could think of when you were talking about all the control and all the responsibilities and all the places where Jimbo has to be in terms of control of this program. I was thinking about Jerry Jones, because Jerry Jones does everything for the Cowboys. And then it also reminded me when you were talking about that, his press conference earlier this week, I was listening to that on Monday, and he was asked questions that, I mean, from the outside looking in, hats off to Jimbo. He answered them professionally and didn't flinch, but they seemed to be kind of like daggers. I asked him about his ego and would he ever consider giving up play calling duties, and he, answered them. Credit to him. He said that, if the time comes and there's a conglomerative effort when it comes to play calling and everybody has their, opinions or whatever, obviously he's the one that pulls the trigger on when and what to do stuff. But all that said, in terms of Max Johnson and how, I don't think anybody on A&M side or Miami side knows what to expect from him. He's either going to be really good or really bad. I don't think there's any in between. But with an O-line that it's kind of still finding the way, and we all know, you talked about Bryce and everything like that. Do you know if they've been kind of doing something to help him out maybe? Because the best way to help a quarterback out with a struggling offensive line, in my opinion, is short passes here, short passes there. Use your tight end, quarterback best friend. Has there been any type of inkling that you know of without, giving anything away of how they maybe will approach this game tonight offensively?
One of the things I wrote this week was when A&M gets in a must-win situation, you see them do things on offense that they don't do the rest of the time. There's a lot more pre-snap motion. There's a lot more, you trade the tight end across the formation. There's easier throws to begin the game so that you allow the quarterback to get into a rhythm. I mean, A&M's faced these types of games, 2018 against Clemson when Jimbo was trying to get the program off the ground, 2018 against LSU when, again, big recruiting weekend, top 10 team coming in. A&M handed LSU its last loss before they won the national title. People forget that. 2020, they got racked up pretty good at Alabama, came home, found a way to beat Florida. Kellen Mond threw for over 300 yards. Last year, 3-touchdown dog to Alabama. Zach Calzada plays the game of his life, and you could say that about some other A&M players. They find a way to win that game, and that game catapulted them to a number one class nationwide because a lot of those guys that signed with them either saw that game on TV or were there in person, and they were part of that, and they saw what A&M could become. So I think what Fisher is going to do is sit there and say, hey, look, I've got to find a way to make things easier on my quarterback. I've got to, get him some throws he can complete, build his confidence up. But also, I think Max is going to be okay in that regard. I think what he's got to be able to, I think more than anything else, he's just got to find things not just that Max can do, but I think he's got to find things that his offensive line can do. They just, they played better in the second half last week against Appalachian State, but they've, pass protection has to get better. That's been better than the run blocking. They've got to be able to be more physical up front. They're playing a freshman at tight end. So, when you got to, now it's going to be interesting because Miami has those 250 and 280 pound defensive ends. You got a 240 pound freshman tight end. You're going to be, can Donovan Green or Jake Johnson, can they seal the edge? And if they can't going in, are you going to ask them to try to do that? So he's got some limitations. He's got to figure out what those limitations are and work within them. And if he can do that, then I think A&M should be able to find a way to manufacture enough points to win this football game. I wrote this morning, I like A&M coming in this game because when Fisher has to win these types of games, he really coaches and game plans with a sense of urgency, and his team follows suit in the way they play.
Really quick to follow up with that. Sorry, really quick, just to follow up with that. In terms of what you just said about Fisher and knowing how to win when he gets his back against the wall like that, all I could think about was 2016, year one of Mark Richt at Miami. I believe FSU had lost, if it wasn't 2 in a row before that, they definitely lost a week before at home. I believe it was UNC, their homecoming game. And they were reeling coming into Miami. And then he found a way to get that job done. But then another interesting thing that I want to point out, Steele and Fisher, when they go at it, it's a pretty nice game to watch in terms of X's and O's. They've gone up each other, against each other in the SEC a few times before. I want to say a handful of times. So that's a matchup, that chess match between Steele and Fisher, the quarterback whisperer of all quarterback whisperers. It's going to be fun to watch. Sorry, O.
You got anything there on that, Jeff?
Yeah, it's interesting, though, is that the last 3 times when A&M played Auburn, when Steele was the DC, A&M ran the ball really well 2 of those 3 games. But one game they had only about 50 yards rushing, and it really kind of depended on who had the upperclassmen and who was more motivated to play, because in the latter part of Gus Malzahn's tenure, there were games that Auburn just came out very, very flat, and that happened a couple of times. And the one time that they came to College Station, A&M was, they brought a veteran defense, and they beat A&M up pretty good that day in the trenches, and A&M had a hard time dealing with it. And so Steele was a lot more successful that day. I think the one thing that Steele's going to try to do tonight is really try to dial up some pressure and make A&M figure out who to block, because they've kind of struggled in that regard in terms of people slanting and coming across their faces, communicating with the guy next to them. And so I think if I'm Kevin Steele, I'm watching all that and I'm going, you know what? I've got all this speed. I need to send it from different angles. I need to, I've got a new quarterback. I've still got an offensive line getting its feet wet. I've got new receivers who may not be doing their side adjustments to the blitz like they should be. And if that's the case, I'm throwing a lot of different things at him in order to, not necessarily at Fisher, but as players, to make them execute. And that's what's going to be really interesting to me to see if A&M can block Miami, because Miami, I don't know how y'all feel about this. I look at them and they look a lot more like the Miami defenses that, I kind of grew up with. Lots of speed. They get upfield. They want to make plays on your side of the line of scrimmage. And so it's not, even if it's a chess match between Fisher and Steele, more than anything else, Steele's sitting there going, hey, I've got to sit there and take advantage of the experience and the lack of time these guys have had together, see if I can take advantage of that.
Jeff, I can tell you as a guy that's been also following it for a long time like you, no, they're nowhere near the old Canes defenses. Their linebackers are nowhere near that. They don't have a great pass rusher yet, or a couple of them. And their secondary, their corners leave a lot to be desired. They've got a lot of growing up to do. I worry about this game because that defense still isn't set yet, and I don't expect it to be. Mario Cristobal just got there. It's going to take a while. So let's wrap it up with the very handsome Jeff Tarpley from 247 Sports. Handsome one, give us your handsome prediction on this. What happens tonight? What are you seeing in that crystal ball of yours?
I'm taking A&M by 1 score, simply because Jimbo Fisher, again, when he's got his back to the wall, when he's got to win on a big recruiting weekend, he finds a way to do it. And they're typically close games. Now, that Clemson game 2018, A&M lost, but they were a 2-point conversion from tying it and sending it into overtime. So he's got to get his team to do that tonight. He showed so far that he can do that. I think the hard thing is going to be for everyone, if A&M comes out and they don't score too many points, and then they wind up with everything on the line and they don't get it done. And I think for Fisher and everybody else, that's just really something that's too terrible to contemplate. And for that reason, I think Fisher's throwing everything into this game that he has. I think that sense of urgency carried over to the fact that he made Max Johnson the starting quarterback. I mean, how many guys ditched their starter 2 games in? Seriously. Yeah. I mean, that tells you
that's
there.
When you know you made a mistake. You made a mistake.
Yes. You know that you did wrong, but also means that, hey, look, whatever I've done in the past, I've got to try to put it behind me, because whatever I've got going in 7 days is life and death.
That's right.
Got to win the next game.
I'm with you there. If you're a Texas A&M fan, make sure you follow him there, 247 Sports, Jeff Tarpley. Jeff, exceptional information, great insight, my friend. Thank you for taking the time. We really appreciate it.
Guys, thank you. Have a good rest of your evening.
You got it. Enjoy the football out there. There you go.
Yes, sir.
247 Sports, Jeff Tarpley. Mike McCoy, Big O with you. Sean, Chad, driving the program. 1 hour down. We got one more to go. We take it till 9 o'clock. You're listening to the Miami Hurricanes pregame show on the Sports Talk 305 Network.
There's no need to drive around South Florida wasting valuable time looking for a new or certified pre-owned Acura. Go to the #1 volume sales dealership in the Southeast United States. Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. Purchase with pace and space in a dealership tailored to your needs. From home buying to providing that personal touch. Contact the 2020 Satisfaction Award winner Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. 888-776-5123. That's 888-776-5123. Or visit them at 15601 Pines Boulevard in Pembroke Pines.
When you move, you need a reliable company led by passionate folks, eager to assist its customers during a transitional process that needs to be smooth. Call Essential Moving Experts at 844-368-5750 for all your local and long-distance moving needs. You can rely on Essential Moving Experts. Mention the Big O Show and get $150 off. Family owned and operated, they offer free 30-day storage, full-service moving, fully licensed, bonded, and insured. Moving was never so easy. EssentialMovingExperts.com.
If you're a Miami sports fan, then there's only one store to go to, and that's Caneswear at Miami Fanwear in Davie. They're your one-stop shop for all your Inter Miami CF, Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, and Marlins merchandise. They have hats, t-shirts, game day jerseys, and so much more. Located at 2511 South University Drive in Davie, and open 24/7 online at Caneswear.com or InterMiamiWear.com. Call them at 954-835-5597. Caneswear, the spot where Inter Miami and all Miami sports fans shop.
The viewpoint statements or beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of FantasyXS.com, Media Group Inc. ownership, management, sponsors, or website.
As we talk about building a championship program, as we talk about taking things and elevating the standard to elite levels, it all starts with work. And as I look at these young men and I look at some of the other guys that I played with or coached with, I remember things like when they had to get an IV for going way too hard during two-a-days, when you had to visit them at the hospital due to an unforeseen injury, when you saw the trials, all the adversity they had to overcome to elevate the standard here at the University of Miami, you realize more than ever that it's about the work. It's about the time invested. Because without that, it's not real. And it's time to go to work.
The warning flag is up. It's time to get ready for Miami Hurricanes football. Welcome to the Miami Hurricanes Pregame Show on the SportsTalk305 Network. The show is mastered by Sean Stanley and Chad Shobe. Here's your hosts, Orlando Alzugaray and Mike McCoy.
We're already really in hour number 2 already as it is, but we thank Jeff Tarpley. Excellent information there as we talk a little bit about the Canes and Texas A&M. Mike McCoy with us here as always. If you want to get in, you got some questions, you can send them in on the YouTube chat board, on the Welt and Rayom text line, 855-912-1056. We'll be back, by the way, post-game. We'll take your questions, your comments, all kinds of good stuff. Manny Navarro will be joining us straight from Texas A&M post-game, so he'll give us his thoughts. So we'll get the insiders on for you as always, and we'll continue to, grow this program. The pre- and post-game show will continue to add more and more elements. This is one that is disgusting. They've got the horses at Texas A&M on the sidelines. Props to Cane Sport. Look at that shit, man.
Literally.
Look at that. They're just propping the horses up on the Canes sidelines. Just to drop the poop all over the place.
And they're probably going to leave it there, too.
I mean, seriously, dude?
Yeah, serious. They're serious. They're going to leave it there. They're not going to clean up the shit in their own house.
They should rub that on their jerseys and go after those guys. That's what they should do. Right? There you go.
Oh, man.
Okay.
Their jerseys step on it with their cleats and accidentally, hey, nasty things going under that pile. So let's see what happens with the shit that's on the sideline.
Oh my God! First of all, wait a minute. Hold on a second, because we got some love first. First of all, true Finn fan, it's all about the U, babe. Man, I appreciate what you do for the city. Oh, one day I'm gonna shake your hand. Well, thank you, sir. I want to shake your hand, sir, because without all of you out there supporting us, watching, downloading the show, viewing it live, we can't be here. And look, this is another element. We have just started with our pre- and post-game show, only our second week doing it. And we picked a doozy, by the way, here, because it's a nice late one. William Quigley, baby. Yes, sir. Cutter's Edge. Big O. Canes will have over 250 yards rushing and win by 10+ tonight. Jimbo's a good coach, but we also have a good coach in Crystal Ball. Thank you, William. I appreciate you all out there, as always. And, of course, all the great people at Cutter's Edge, who did a phenomenal job with our lawn and converting. I mean, the landscaping, just converting our home was just absolutely amazing. So thank you, William. I appreciate you. And he brings something up very key, I've said, to winning this game. And he's right on target. Let me tell you something, Mike. To me, the key to this game is Mario Cristobal. Somebody was joking around because in the Open, Mario was in it, and he was like being a smart ass saying, "Oh, is Mario playing?" No, Mario's not playing, but Mario's imprint needs to be on this. His offensive linemen need to wake up tonight, and they need to punch Texas A&M in the mouth with a pile of shit in their hands when they punch them in the mouth, and they need to open up holes because Tyler Van Dyke doesn't have enough people on the edges to make plays. What's really important tonight, I agree with him. On the night of the Fiesta Bowl, back in the day, Jimmy Johnson did one of the dumbest coaching moves in the history of football. He stopped giving the ball to Alonzo Highsmith and continued to allow Vinny Testaverde to throw one interception after another when all he had to do was keep handing it off to Highsmith. And that night they would have won easily because Penn State could not stop the run. And go look at the stats. He was averaging like 5 or 6 yards a carry. He was killing them. He was gouging them. Tonight, if you want to win this game, you want to help Tyler Van Dyke win. You talked about it at the beginning, Mike, in the first hour. You talked about the plethora of running backs that they have, especially now that the Rooster is back. I think that's Mike is onto something. To me, the key to this game is the running game. is dominating in the run. If you don't dominate in the run, you definitely lose this game. You will not win this game by the air. I agree with William on that.
So I think people still haven't forgiven Vinny for that night. And if, like you said, really quick,
listen, you didn't live it, but it's 9 interceptions. It's 5 in the Fiesta Bowl. It's 4 in the Sugar Bowl the year before against Tennessee. The guy was the biggest choker in the biggest games of his life in UM. So he doesn't ever get forgiven for that because you can't be DJ Ivy. He was the old DJ Ivy. He was great in the regular season. Don't put him in the postseason because he was going to choke like a dog. DJ Ivy apparently is all world. Again, what do we hear? He's all world in practice.
We talking about practice. Not a game, not a game, not a game. We talking about practice.
I don't want to hear any more about DJ Ivy being good at practice. I want to see him being great in a game. You know what I'm saying? In a game. Not practice, in a game. Talk about a game, not practice. So I agree with William here.
No, listen.
Out of the ball and punch them in the mouth tonight and control it.
All Canes fans wanted throughout these past, 20 years is a change in leadership because it all starts at the top. Leadership, it's filtered down to the bottom. Your team, from the top to the bottom, your team takes on a personality of his coach. Well, yeah, I get it. He's not playing, but okay, like you said, his imprints, his fingerprints are going to be all over this game because what did Miami do last week when they hit albeit small piece of adversity, it was adversity that you have to lean on at some point to take you to the next level. They leaned on the run. And they responded to it. They ran the ball, and I get who they're playing. I don't want to. It's not about who they're playing. It's recognizing what you needed to do and getting it done. And then you add, like how we talked about a couple of segments ago, how Mario didn't even have to get stupid and loud and crazy with them in the locker room. It was self-accountability, all right? So, listen, Miami's going to get into a hole at some point in this game. And when I say hole, I mean hit some type of controversy, whether it be an interception, a non-conversion on 4th down, whatever the case is. Lean on what your strong suit is. You have a head coach that's an O-line coach, that's a former O-lineman. You have the best or arguably the best O-line coach in the country in Mirabal, and that's what's going to happen. A&M's D-line is not that experienced, okay? They're good, they're big, I get it. But experience matters. Since when in history have you seen that not the best team wins? It happens all the time that the best team doesn't win. I'm not saying that A&M is the best team of the two. Okay, we'll see tonight which team was the best team.
Miami was not better than Nebraska in '83.
And Penn State was not better than Miami. I mean, Miami doubled them up on the box score in terms of yards. For crying out loud. So
definitely was not better than Miami.
Oh,
in fact, I argue, because everybody says 2001, but to me that was the greatest UM team, the one that lost. The '86 team for me that's my favorite UM team of all time. I think that's the greatest UM team. That was loaded with just nasty men. And by the way, this guy here, Mark Ardois on our chat board says, or Ardois, I'm not sure exactly how it's pronounced, says Miami wins the Natty in both 85 and 86 with just average QB play in both those games. He's right. And you know why? Because they were so dominant in all the skill positions, which, by the way, is probably to spin it fast forward to 2022. Here's remember I told you there was something that was bothering me, that it was the whole Cristobal thing, that they're fast tracking Cristobal when he really shouldn't be fast tracked. Here's the other one. Oh, TVD needs to pick it up this week. No, dude. And I get this whole thing that TVD wasn't perfect last week. Of course he wasn't perfect, bro, because he doesn't have Santana Moss, because he doesn't have Andre Johnson, because he doesn't have Michael Irvin, because he doesn't have Blades or Perriman, because he doesn't have even Charleston Rambo, because he doesn't have Randall Hill, because he doesn't have real stud receivers. And Xavier Restrepo isn't that, by the way. He's a nice receiver. He's a solid receiver. But I'm talking about guys that you could retire their numbers. Those kind of players used to come here all the time. And so that's the other thing that bothers me. Like, oh no, TVD has to take it up to another level. No, dude. Tight ends need to take it to another level. Wide receivers need to take it to another level. The offensive line needs to take it to another level. The running backs need to take it to another level. Alex Mirabal, Mario Cristobal have got to get that line getting to another level. TVD is not your problem whatsoever. But you cannot expect him to carry the entire goddamn team. He needs help. And it's bothering the hell out of me because we got people thinking that he is the sole answer to it. And there's this misconception that a quarterback does it all by himself. And so, we have a lot of people that are picking on Tua constantly. And I'm having a field day in the first 2 weeks of the NFL season showing everybody that everybody does exactly what Tua does. You underthrow some people, you almost get intercepted, you get sacked, you get injured too, ribs also. Happens to everybody, except he doesn't really throw a lot of pick sixes like Herbert. But outside of that, he does a lot of the things that a lot of other guys do. But there's this misconception, right? And then I say, go look at Marino. All world, bro. One of the greatest quarterbacks I've ever, for me, the greatest ever, but one of the greatest freaks you'd ever see in your life. He didn't win it, bro. You know why he didn't win it? Because he didn't have the team around him. And if Tyler Van Dyke doesn't win tonight, it's not because Tyler Van Dyke wasn't good enough. I bet you he was good enough. But what I'm also betting is the people around him are not good enough. And that's what needs to get raised up. Okay? Because you would have won in 85 and 86 with average play because everybody around him was elite. Well, right now, there isn't elite around Tyler Van Dyke, and I hope people would understand that.
You know what I hate about what you just said is that you're right. A quarterback is never going to win it by himself. In any sport, you never do it by yourself. Basketball especially, there's never one guy. Nowadays, you need 3 guys to win it in basketball. But you know what I've always said about quarterback play, is that a great quarterback will make average receivers look really good.
Yes.
It's rarely the other way around. You will rarely see a great receiver make an average quarterback look great. Calvin Johnson made an average quarterback in Stafford, which in my opinion was average. Even though he was putting up numbers, he was average in Detroit, okay?
It's
rarely the other way around.
A.J. Brown with the Tannehill.
There you go, Tannehill. It's really the other way around. So what you said, yes, the receivers, the O-line, everybody else needs to step up. But TVD is the best player on this team. And he can throw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns and whatever, and Miami can lose. But those numbers are good enough to win. If TVD throws for 300 yards in this game, which I don't think is going to happen, because why? This is the key to the game. Well, I'm going to tell you right now. You ready? 40.
Give it to me.
What's 40? Miami.
It's a great song from U2. 40.
From U2.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's good. You're good. That is what Miami needs to eclipse in terms of time of possession. Miami needs to hold on to that ball for 40 minutes or more. A&M held on to the ball 41 minutes last week. A&M only had Appy State had the ball for 41 minutes last week. A&M had 8 possessions offensively last week. 8, okay? That's because Appy had the ball for 41 minutes.
But what they were physical. They were the more physical team last week. They punched them in the mouth, and they had that bruising running back. You know what I'm saying? And that's why Will is 1,000% right. Now he's a little bit of a maniac because he's got them running for 250 yards, and I'm not sure they can do that. But the theory behind it, he is 1,000% right. If they do go for 250 plus, oh my God, then I'm going to be wrong. Then I'm going to be wrong. Then UM wins this game. Overall, that's what I think is going to end up happening. If it's 250 plus yards rushing, then I'm going to be wrong. And he and his crazy ass is going to be right. He's going to nail it right there. But the theory behind it, he's 1,000% right. Miami needs to go out there tonight and dominate on the ground. Keep that entire stadium quiet. Because you're punching them in the mouth and you've got long drives and you're just wearing them down and those kind of things. And by the way, he told us that 60-something players are freshmen and sophomores. Well, then that means their bodies aren't built up.
So I'm
And
saying.
so maybe they can wear down a little easier. So if you have them playing key positions, and by the way, this offensive line is one of the most experienced lines out there, right? One of the older lines out there. Well, use your size, use your weight, use your force, and just push those guys back all night long. Make the play action matter. Make, one of the things you've talked about also on the pregame show here, that the running backs are terrific wide receivers. Well, dude, use them. Part of your running game with short passes. Get them out in the open space. Punish these people for 4 quarters. Don't go in there finessing it. Go in there physical.
And listen, Gaddis is the Broyles Award winner for a reason, okay? Mario is very strategic in who he wants around him. Mario is not an ego-driven guy. Heck, he has former head coaches on his roster, okay? So Gaddis is on this because on this staff because he fits what Mario wants to do. Mario, yes, wants to be balanced, but Mario wants to run the ball. That's what O-linemen do, okay? He played it, he lived it, he won that way. He was behind Butch, seen Butch build the best team of all time, which Mario was probably the best recruiter on that team, by the way, on that staff. He went to Bama to see how the greatest coach of all time in college football went to get it done, and look how he transformed.
He got the award there. He actually got the award at Alabama for being
Alabama
the
as
number 1 recruiter.
There you go. Yeah. So all this leading back to Gaddis is everything that we've been talking about in terms of, is he holding something back? You could bet your ass he's holding something back. The tight ends haven't been a factor so far this season offensively. Gaddis is a tight end guy. And I know people have their things to say about Mallory, but when his head is on right, he's a weapon. Arroyo, okay, the guy, I met him last December. He's bigger than the refrigerator in your kitchen. He's huge. He can move. He can block. The problem where Miami's going to run into is if they if they have to keep a tight end in there to block, that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing. That's offensively. I think they're going to see the tight ends. I think they're going to help Tyler out by having, like we said earlier, receivers come out of the backfield and use. I don't think Rooster's going to play that much of a factor, and I'll tell you why. I just think it's really health related. Is he going to see snaps? Yes. However, I don't think that he's going to be having as much snaps as Thad. He's the bruiser, and Parrish, who's been the best running back, in 2 games so far. And then the other part is this defensively. If Miami can get pressure with just 4, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. If Miami can only get pressure with 4. And now I know we just got off the phone with Jeff, and he said, I think Steele is going to dial it up some. I agree with that. But the other thing I think is that's going to help, to get the lead. If Miami can make A&M predictable and make them throw the ball, I think that's a plus. And also the team that go up double digits first wins. We're not going to see a comeback in this game by either offense. Book it.
Well, hopefully in the running game, they will use the cutter's edge philosophy, getting it done like Will does. And by the way, if you're looking for full landscape design, the great people at Cutter's Edge can work for you. They do landscape, outdoor lighting, irrigation. They do it all. Artificial grass, which I can attest. The dogs love the artificial turf, and it is so much easier to manage. So awesome, so comfortable, and I don't have to cut grass anymore on that one. That is just absolutely awesome. And by the way, Cutter's Edge is a total landscape solution. They also do lawns and landscape maintenance for medium to large homes, condominiums, corporate parks, and large commercial building complexes. They work in Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach County. They do landscape lighting for pathways, trees, basic LED lighting to color-changing technology. They can bring your landscape like they've done to ours to life. On Saturdays, I'll use Canes colors. On Sundays, I'll use Dolphins colors. It's a beautiful thing. And by the way, in the storm season or just every day, let's not take chances, folks. Tree trimming, hazardous tree removals when they're around wires or you're messing around and you got to climb a roof or something. Come on, man. Hire professionals, insured professionals like Cutter's Edge. They will take care of it and bring your backyard, your front yard to life. You will be the envy of your neighborhood like I am, folks. Planting of large trees and palm trees, they do it all. Call the great people right there at Cutter's Edge. Go to the website, cuttersedgepro.com, 954-472-0622. By the way, they've got their own show on WIOD at noon. So check it out also, and you can learn a little bit there. Call Will and call Mike and all the great people. 954-472-0622. That's 954-472-0622, cuttersedgepro.com. All right, let's take a quick break here. Give us 2 minutes. Mike and I are going to come back. We'll give you our predictions. We'll talk about what's going on around the ACC. We'll wrap it up here, and we'll get ready for the kickoff. You are listening to the Miami Hurricanes pregame show right here on the Sports Talk 305 Network.
There's no need to drive around South Florida wasting valuable time looking for a new or certified pre-owned Acura. Go to the #1 volume sales dealership in the Southeast United States. Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. Purchased with pace and space in a dealership tailored to your needs. From home buying to providing that personal touch. Contact the 2020 Satisfaction Award winner Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. 888-776-5123. That's 888-776-5123. Or visit them at 15601 Pines Boulevard in Pembroke Pines.
Why is it that you get locked out in the worst moments of your life?
Where are my car keys? Man, I can't find my house keys.
In those frustrating moments, you need a locksmith you can count on. A. Lenny Locksmiths in South Florida, from Miami to Port St. Lucie. In Central Florida, A. Lenny locks it down in Orlando and Tampa Bay. Lockouts or lock changes for home or business. Car key replacements and programming all model cars. 24-hour service. Call them at 855-869-5625. Go to the website at alennylocksmith.com.
Red Recover now offers a simple-to-use, professional-grade light therapy device designed to help your dog heal and live a healthier life. Red Recover emits red and infrared light therapy based on the same science that NASA developed, all in a soft, flexible housing pad powered by a convenient, rechargeable lithium-ion battery. Say yes to science and give your dog the care it deserves with Red Recover.
There we are, our Hurricanes pregame show. Remember, we're going to be back for our postgame show. Manny Navarro is going to join us live from College Station, so he'll give us his wrap, his thoughts on what he saw tonight in the game, and we'll be back to take your questions, your comments, your complaints, your hopefully a lot of compliments for us at least, and hopefully for the Canes if they win. So tonight, okay, we talked about DJ Ivy already. We told you, you know.
We talking about practice. Not a game. We talking about practice.
So I need to know who's going to step up. Is it Tyreek Stevenson? Is it Takori Couch? Is it Malik Curtis? Is it Al Blades Jr.? I got to tell you, Mike, because the old man on the lawn is remembering Dwayne Starks, is remembering Al Blades Sr., is remembering Ed Reed, Benny Blades, Robert Bailey, Tolbert Bain. You know, I'm remembering people that made an impact playing in that secondary for many, many years here. The Canes have a rich history. And we just heard from Jeff Tarpley, my friends, that he feels they've got the better passer now in there in Mac Johnson. So with Max in there and Haynes King out, Well, maybe guys like Smith is going to make plays. Maybe Stewart does now come back in the second half and add another dynamic guy to the whole thing. What's going to happen, my brother? Is it going to be Williams? Is it going to be the safeties? Because I got to tell you, the best play I saw a cornerback make last week was a safety playing corner on the sideline in Williams because his big redwood tree ass got in the way, and there was no way you were going to get the ball over him because I swear he would have dunked it on a 17-foot NBA rim or something. So who's going to step up, dude? Who's going to make the difference in this secondary tonight? Because they will be tested, because everybody tests this secondary, Mike McCoy. What say you, sir?
You are asking me to throw darts at a dartboard in the dark because, like I said, there's more questions heading into this game than there are answers for Miami. I could sit here and tell you that, yeah, Tyreek is finally going to step up, and be the SEC corner that we thought. The guys looks more like a safety and can probably play the star position more for Miami.
Well, I was going to ask you to balance the U.S. budget, but I figured this might be slightly easier. So, that's kind of what we're going to do now.
You figured it'd be slightly easier, right? But look, Isaiah Dunson is a guy that has a lot of height on him, and he's a guy that I thought was going to be getting, he's gotten his number of reps, but the guy can get starter reps. We'll see what the shakeup is in terms of Ivy, if there is one. If he starts, the thing is, okay, if he starts bad, all right, are you going to go ahead and pull him and put somebody else in his place to take his snaps instead of riding the highs and lows of what Ivy brings? Okay, Tyreek can go ahead and play star, but then if he plays star, you're taking your best corner out who's going to play in his place. The problem with Couch is he is Miami's best cover guy. He also misses a lot of tackles when he's in close. And like Manny Navarro likes to point out, he kind of has an inkling to give away pass interference penalties. I'd rather that than a 60-yard score.
You just keep telling me that I'm screwed here. So we're.
Listen. To answer your question, all the guys that you brought up in the past, they had a chance to get it done. This is their chance. Okay, Malik Curtis got burned last week. All right, Chris Graves, he hasn't seen anything. Porter, the West Virginia transfer, he's supposed to be a player, sophomore transfer out of West Virginia. Let's see what he got. This is what I do think is going to happen, though, and this is what was not reported by anybody. This is just me kind of reading the tea leaves and kind of putting things together. And I like to reference it because it makes a lot of sense. Agent JW0 is 6'5", 220 plus, whatever the case is, right? Nice safety, moves great. For people that like to say he's going to play linebacker at the next position, at the next level, fine, right. That may be the case. But right now, he's a fine safety. I think this is the game that he plays a lot closer to the line consistently, because we've seen him play close to the line this year, but I think this is the game that he plays a lot closer to the line for the majority of the game. I think most of the snaps are going to come closer to the line. Why? Because, like how Jeff said, he thinks that Steele's going to dial up blitz packages. I think he's going to be the guy to do it. And because Miami needs to combat A&M's big speed, how Mario put it, and he said that in a literal sense, because they got tight ends that can move. We got a guy that's just as big as a tight end, and they can move like the wind in Williams. So I think he's going to take on one of those or both of those tight ends. And then it's like if Miami doesn't have safeties to take his spot and do the job with him being closer to the line. You got Cam Kinson's probably the best tackler on the team. And then Avante, everybody knows about him taking down his Miami stuff from his Instagram page, and he was pissed off and everything like that. He had a nice little powwow with Coach. That's all said and done with. I think this is a game where there's mainly 2 or 3 safeties that you see at the safety position, those being Cam Kinson's numbers 24, Al number 7, and of course Tay Williams 15. But I really think that this is where you see Zero play closer to the line for the entirety, not the entirety, but the majority of the game.
All right, good stuff. We like to do something on this show. We like to do a little lockdown, and we do the lockdown. We give you our selections. And on Friday, I gave you my selection for the Dolphins game already. So I figured we'd go with our A. Lenny Locksmith lockdown segment for tonight.
Time to lock it down. Lockdown is brought to you by ALennyLocksmith.com. Services in South Florida from Miami to Port St. Lucie. In Central Florida, ALennyLocksmith.com locks it down in Orlando and Tampa Bay. Here's the Big O to tell you what needs to be locked down.
Back on track. We've won the last couple, so we're 34, 24, and 2. We're 10 games above 500 in this latest streak of 60 games in our lockdown segment. So, in this game, Texas A&M is favored by 6.5 points. The over and under is 45.5. Miami on the money line, plus 195. A&M minus 230 on the money line. This game reminds me a lot of the game I picked on Thursday night. We went with the Chargers. We took the 4 points. Why? Because I thought the Chargers would lose a close game. I thought they'd keep it interesting, but I didn't think that they would win. Unfortunately, I'm thinking the same way. I'm thinking that the Canes are going to keep this game close, but Texas A&M has so much riding on this. Really, the season is not riding for the Canes. And for Texas A&M, if they lose this game, it's not a conference game, but it's a devastating game because of the App State loss. For Miami, they're 2-0. They're really not supposed to win this game with most logical fans. It's going to take probably the best coaching job that Mario Cristobal has ever done at any stop, at FIU, at Oregon, or in a short trip here in Miami in order to win tonight. We're asking a secondary to step up to levels they never have. We're asking receivers to do things they never have. We're asking an offensive line to do something they never do. It is very difficult to ask people to do things they've never done. This is not a true tested team in these kind of situations. They're young, they're green, and they don't know how to win. That's Mario's job. I don't know if they can do it in such a short time. If Steele and Gaddis and all these coaches can get it over the hump, I don't know. It's such a short amount of time to ask them to overcome this. I'm going to take Texas A&M. I'm going to take Miami plus the 6.5 points. I think the Canes won't get blown out here. I think they'll keep it close, if not maybe even surprise them. But I think A&M pulls out a close one. I just don't think that they beat them by a touchdown or more. I really don't, unless things really go awry and Miami has some turnovers tonight. That's the only way I think it goes down. But if not, I think Mario and Miami have proven in the first couple weeks they play pretty disciplined. They're not making a lot of stupid mistakes. They're not committing a ton of penalties. So they're doing the things to keep them in games and play smart. I just don't know if they have enough tested talent for these situations. I'm going Miami plus 6.5 in this game in our A. Lenny Locksmith Lockdown segment. 24-hour service, house or car. You get locked out, you call them in Dade, Broward, Palm Beach County, Port St. Lucie, you name it. And also in Tampa and Orlando and Phoenix, Arizona. 561-284-5090. Again, 24-hour service. So save that number. You may not need it right now, but at least you have it in your phone. It says Locksmith A. Lenny, 561-284-5090. That's what you want. You want to save it for emergency purposes because that's really the only time they really call Lenny. Unless you really need some spare keys, he can help you out. And by the way, they also program those car keys. Some of those car keys need to be programmed. A. Lenny Locksmith does it all for you, man. So check them out. 561-284-5090. That is your lockdown segment.
The Lockdown is brought to you by ALennyLocksmith.com. Lockouts or lock changes for home or business. Car key replacements and programming. All model cars. 24-hour service. Call them anywhere in South Florida at 855-869-5625. Go to the website at ALennyLocksmith.com where we lock it down.
All right. Let's take a little look here, Mike, around the ACC and see what's going on, because obviously we've got several games going on. We've got the college scoreboard going on under us there, as Chad has been keeping you updated with everything going on. But we just want to kind of go over some of the things that have gone on in the ACC to talk a little bit about that. Not a lot of surprises going on, except for maybe Duke. Duke is 2-0, looking to go 3-0, and they are 40. They're leading right now. North Carolina A&T 49-13. Are you believing in Duke, or they haven't played anybody yet?
No, I mean, they went up and won against a Big Ten team on the road versus Northwestern, but that's like Duke of the Big Ten. So they're beating teams, but yeah, they haven't played anybody. So I'm taking them for what they are.
NC State late in the second quarter, leading Texas Tech 20-0. They're looking to go 3-0, the number 16 team in the country. This is why Miami also has to win, because you've got the same kind of rankings. You're fighting for the division. You're fighting all kinds of stuff, but you want to stay in that race there. Number 23, Pittsburgh. They've already been tripped up this year. They're only leading Western Michigan 13-6 with 7 minutes left in the second. Boston College doubling up Maine right now, 21-10 with 4 minutes left in the second. Clemson controlling Louisiana Tech 10-0. Louisiana Tech is one of those dangerous teams, man. They have players that end up going to the NFL, so they're one of those teams that you can't take lightly. Wake Forest improves to 3-0. They edge Liberty 37-36. Ole Miss pounds Georgia Tech 42-0. Virginia Tech all over Wofford 27-7, and Syracuse over Purdue in the most entertaining game in college football today. 32-29. Virginia over Old Dominion 16-14. And how about Florida State, dude? Last night they beat Louisville 35-31, and for those of you that don't know, Tuesday nights Mike McCoy hosts the Miami Hurricanes Watch from 8 to 9 p.m. Well, this week we are adding a new show from 7 to 8. It's the Florida State Gridiron Roundtable, and I'm looking forward to talking to Ira Schofel from War Chant. He is the editor. We're going to have Kevin Brockway from the Gators. Oh, my God. Night and day for the Gators. Richardson goes from star to dud in a couple of weeks, so we'll talk to him about all that stuff. Florida State is 3-0 after beating Louisville, and I got to tell you, I'm brain farting now. The
quarterback,
Cunningham, the quarterback for Louisville. I mean, that kid was making some plays all over the place. I mean, this kid's chasing Lamar Jackson records over there, and this is a hell of a win for Florida State, bro. I mean, 3-0. I didn't believe in Mike Norville. Maybe I'm wrong about Mike Norville, dude.
Joe. I'm sorry, Joe. Oh, that's a team that should, I get it, give them credit because they found a way to win. And one of their worst teams of all time, they're finding ways to win. And when Miami had some of its worst teams of all time, they couldn't find a way to win. I get it. But
they had quarterback issues in that game too, by the way.
Yeah, so this guy's probably going to be out for either a long time or the season. I don't know what his injury is, but it's to his foot or ankle. He came back on the sideline and right. But they should be 1-2. Easily be 1-2. And I get it. If my aunt had whatever, she'd be my uncle. But still, this is a bad FSU team. Virginia's bad. Virginia Tech is bad. They played they 27-7 against Wofford, and Old Dominion is looking to be the power of Virginia. They almost beat Virginia, and then they beat Virginia Tech earlier in this season. They're 2-2 against Virginia Tech, and that is a baby football program. They're not even 10 years old. All right. Yeah. So the ACC is very winnable, at least a coastal. All right. It's very winnable, but I am not putting stock into FSU, especially with Jordan Travis looking to be gone for a while. Screw those guys.
Okay. All right. The Wilson kid had himself a hell of a game for FSU, man. It's just and by the way, FSU, stop with the stinking white helmets. Okay, enough with that shit. All right, listen, Green Bay Packers, they don't need to change. You don't like the goddamn G, screw you. It looks great. Leave them alone. there's something about tradition. Okay, and I'm not trying to be blasphemous here, but the gold helmet with the spear and all that looks fantastic.
Yeah.
There is no need to change a damn thing. Don't try to. It's the Canes do the same shit with the black helmet, and it looks cool. By the way, the black helmet looks cool, but I don't want any part of it. The Canes don't need to change.
No,
They
they
are
don't.
what they are. That
They don't.
classic white helmet with the U is beautiful, bro. You don't need to change a damn thing. Sometimes tradition is fine, bro. Georgia with a nice big red helmet and that G in black and all that.
Penn State.
Gorgeous, bro. Penn State, boring and white
Yep.
and blue. Leave them alone. The Browns, they had to go get an elf that looks like he's a child molester and put him on the damn field. I mean, it's a come on, man. There's no need to change things. Just, sometimes things are just fine the way they are. I mean,
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I get it, man. That's why I wish they would leave Miami's uniforms alone.
Confusing the shit out of me. I'm watching that game. I'm going, white helmets. What is that? That's not FSU.
It's
Come
not,
on.
man. And speaking on the uniform front, it's going to be maroon tops, white pants for the Aggies, white tops, orange bottom for the Canes with the green letters and I think the orange, outline trim and the blocks. I think they're wearing black cleats with black socks. I don't think they're going white shoes or cleats. Another little nugget there that I thought of, or not thought of, but somebody mentioned, and I'm like, that's a hell of a point. Going back to Max Johnson,
yes.
Who was his coach a couple years ago? Oh, who was Max Johnson's coach a couple years ago?
Was it Gaddis?
It was Ed Orgeron. Where is Ed Orgeron been?
Oh, okay, that's right, Orgeron. That's right. It was Orgeron.
Where has Eddie O been hanging around all season?
He's there at the game, dude. He's there
at the game with that hot blondie that he took a picture of in bed a couple of years ago.
Yeah, he's got like 7 or 8 teenagers that are hanging out.
Yeah.
With him.
Apparently there was a little birdie that went around and saying that Eddie O has been speaking to the offense about or the defense about Max Johnson's weaknesses. So we'll see. He's at the game.
Max.
Go Tigers.
Tell him that his mama wears army boots and he'll get mad. All right. So all right, tough guy. What's the prediction today? What happens?
I've been going back and forth about this, and I get it. Been liking these guys since I was in the 4th grade, alum and everything like that. I hope I'm not speaking like a homer. I don't think I am. I got 24-23 Miami.
Okay.
24-23.
All right. Well,
Miami.
you know what? Sean and Chad do a lot of work behind the scenes. I mean, Sean really doesn't sleep, actually. Literally, he really doesn't sleep. He's like working 24 hours a day for the platform. Sean, prediction? What's Canes or Texas A&M? Who wins? Give it to us, Sean. Let's go.
Canes 31-17.
Canes 31-17. Wow. Chad Shobe, producer of the Canes pre- and post-game show and the Canes Miami Hurricanes Watch. What is your prediction, Chad? What do you got going on in this game?
I'm gonna say it's gonna be a close one. I'm a homer, but I'm gonna say it's gonna be 30-28 Canes.
30-28 Canes. All right. So I'm the bad guy. Say good night to the bad guy. I'm the bad guy.
What you got, man?
I'm the only guy that picked Texas A&M to win and Miami to keep it close. But that's.
What's the score? You got a score though? You have a score?
I didn't have a score, but let me go with. I'm gonna say 26-24. 26-24. Texas A&M. There you go.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't think any team hits 30, and if Miami hits 30, they're going to win. But I will say this, and I repeat it: if there's a team that goes up double digits, that's going to be the winner. We're not going to see an offense come back and do magical things like that. I don't think it's going to happen.
Everybody's got the over here. I mean, I didn't pick the over, but apparently we all have over 45.5 points being scored in this game. So, not that we picked it, but it'd be interesting to see where it ends when we come back for the post-game show, in which, by the way, we will be back in the post-game show. Manny Navarro will join us. So we'll take your questions and your comments and all that good stuff here on the post-game show. So well, it'll be interesting to see how many points are scored here. And I think because there's going to be some mistakes made, unfortunately. There's a lot of new on the field, a lot of unproven on the field. And when that happens, and there's not a lot of continuity on the field. And so when there isn't that there, mistakes are made. The one thing I will give credit, Mario's done a really good job that his teams haven't been burning themselves a lot in the first couple games. They're going to need that tonight on the road in a incredibly hostile situation that they're not going to have any kind of advantages. They've got to play a smart one. Yes, Sean, you got some news for us?
Games on ESPN, correct?
I was just going to ask about that because the LSU
programming note, it's probably not going to start on ESPN because LSU and Mississippi State's still got 12 minutes to go in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
So you're probably looking at ESPN News or one of those. So when you're looking for the game, it's probably going to start on a different channel. So just a programming note for everybody watching the show.
There you go.
You're the man, Sean. I was just thinking that.
And our programming note, we will be back post-game. We will take your comments. We will have Manny Navarro live from the College Station locker room and stadium out there. So we'll have some fun. Sean Stanley, Chad Shobe will be back. Mike McCoy and myself will be back to host a post-game show. Enjoy yourselves. Enjoy the game. Go Canes, baby. Let's hope they can pull off a big upset on the road. Have a great one.
This has been the Miami Hurricanes pregame show on the Sports Talk 305 Network. The show is mastered by Sean Stanley and Chad Shobe. Please subscribe to our platform by searching Big O Radio Show on all digital avenues. We'll be back with a complete wrap-up of the game once the last second ticks off the clock. Thank you for your support and enjoy the game.